This week I'm looking at the unique 13, or if you want, XIII. Yeah, I'm lying, it's definitely 13. It's an interesting FPS game that has full-fledged action and also a bit of stealth, matched in between a visual style of a comic book. Being that 13 is based off a comic series, it's really no surprise, but it's great to see how well it translates. Now, I've never read any of the graphic novels, and as such, I'm not entirely sure if the story of the game matches up with the novels, but let me explain the story of the game. You play as a mysterious number 13, and of course you have, what else? Amnesia. The only thing your character remembers is that he was on a boat, fell off, now has a gunshot wound, and has a tattoo of the Roman numerals 13 on his neck. The lifeguard to come to your aid gets ambushed and killed by a bunch of armed thugs. The game then begins with your then nameless character picking up some throwing knives and using the opposing soldiers' heads as target practice. As the game progresses, you'll find that the character's name is Steve Rowland. Or is it? All is not as it seems, and eventually you'll find that there is 20 masked people that were part of a growing conspiracy to put on something called Operation Red in motion. As Rowland, it's your job to see what it's all about and report it to who else but frickin' Batman, Adam West. Okay, not really, as your commander is a General Carrington, but he is voiced by Adam West. In fact, Adam West does a great job in voicing Carrington, as does Eve, who voices one of your cohorts named Jones. In addition, David Duchovny from X-Files voices the title character, although his delivery is somewhat mundane and lackluster.
I can't remember a thing.
Do you think you can make it to the truck? Huh?
The helicopter. I remember.
They spotted you! Get off the boat! Now! Kim here! Do you read me?
It almost sounds like he really didn't want to be doing it, and was just blandly reading off lines off of a sheet of paper. I know I don't have the best vocal qualities, but I go out on a limb and say that I could do a better job voicing Roland. It might be pushing it, sure, but it's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. If I was to give you this review in the same way that Duchovny did the game, you'd probably be asleep by the time the sentence was over. Seriously. Yeah, that's how it sounds. Anyway, let's get back to the actual gameplay. Yeah, it's an FPS game, and there's not really much that makes it stand out gameplay-wise. You shoot various weapons at bad guys, you find health kits, you pick some locks with a strange-looking lockpick. It's your standard stuff. Instead, let's talk about the visual style, in case you're blind and haven't noticed it. It's really like playing a freaking comic book. Everything is cel-shaded, and I've read reports saying that's the first cel-shaded FPS game that was ever created, although I really don't know how true that is. But what makes it really stand out is the comic book style panels that pop up at times. You'll see these frequently. When characters start approaching you or a place that piques your interest gets close, you'll see a panel come on your screen. Sometimes you'll also see a white box that shows you where you should be looking at as well. I like this design. It's enough of a hint to tell you what you need to do, but doesn't always hold your hand. In addition, you'll see text come up at times, like when you're sneaking around and hearing the enemies walking, or the screams of death when shooting someone off of a higher platform. Nothing like killing someone on a bridge and seeing the effects as they plummet to your doom. It's sweet. In addition, when getting a headshot with a throwing knife, crossbow, or sniper rifle, you'll see a 3-panel group of where exactly you struck the enemy. This is cool, although if you get a lot of headshots, you'll be seeing this a lot, and it will start wearing out its welcome. There's a good chunk of weapons available, ranging the gambit of pistols, rifles, and stealth weapons. However, many of these weapons just feel inadequate for the job. The basic 9mm pistol does the job, but can't compare to the more powerful and accurate 357. There's 2 assault rifles, the AK-47 and M4, but the recoil is atrocious, and even when firing a few bullets at a time, you'll see that they have absolutely no accuracy. The minigun is actually an SMG, but again, inaccurate. Although you can dual wield them. You can eventually get an M60 at times, and it doesn't make much sense, but it's the most accurate rapid fire weapon you can find. What the hell is up with that? You do get a sniper rifle and crossbow, but not a lot, and the crossbow is typically reserved for the stealth areas of the game. Ah, the stealth areas. If 13 had one thing I'd have to bitch about, it's the areas where you just can't be caught. I'll be the first one to admit that stealth games aren't my thing. Don't get me wrong, I love Metal Gear Solid, but if I can go balls to the wall, guns blazing, well, that's my style. This is a game. I don't have to worry about dying in real life if I die in game, so screw it. I'm putting as many rounds down range as I can. But I can deal with stealth areas. I really can. But in a game like this, it can get infuriating. You almost need to be perfect in maneuvering throughout these areas. Kill one guy at the wrong time or forget to move a body, an alarm will go off and back to a checkpoint you will go. I should mention that this is only if a level has a checkpoint at all, because there's usually one or two, but there are times where there aren't any in a stage. There's also times where you'll have to repeat the entire stage just because the checkpoints are so spread out. What makes matters a bit more frustrating is that you can't skip any of the cutscenes, so that'll give you more motivation to complete these areas as efficiently as possible. I will say that I spent about an hour trying to get through one of the final segments just because it forces you to use nothing but stealth and no lethal weaponry. It sucks, and it almost made me quit playing the game. I prevailed though, and it ended up being the 5th to last level. Speaking of non-lethal attacks, you can use the environment to your advantage at times. Although it's often unnecessary, it's still a cool feature if you want to save ammo and smack someone up the side of the head with a chair or broom. In addition, although it's used even less, you can take hostages. There's really only about 2 times where it's really mandatory though. Of course, there's one cool thing you can use when necessary: a grappling hook. You receive it shortly after meeting Jones for the first time, and then you can use it to hook onto specific areas. If you look around, you can see the grappling hook icon. When using it, you can manually move up or down, and if needed, bring out a one-handed weapon, although you can't reload or move when you have a weapon out on the grappling hook. This can also be used to attempt to bypass some sections of action, although I ended up finding out that you're just better off killing the opposition, as falling can easily kill you. 13 can't take much of a fall, and plummeting more than about 6 steps will start to cause some serious damage. As you play the game, you'll notice that Roland starts gaining some of his special skill sets that he forgot when he lost his memory. These range from more powerful uses on medkits to being able to hold your breath longer underwater. What makes me wonder is that you're never told when these skills come back into play, and instead you only notice them when using a medkit and noticing that your health was restored much higher than before, or that you can hold your breath for 40 seconds instead of 20. Sure, you can go into the skills section in the pause menu after every level to check, but it's not logical. With the game so heavy on the story as 13, you think that the game would have come up with some sort of reasoning on why he remembers these abilities. If the story starts confusing you, there are a few recap options available, based on how much intel you grab throughout the stages. There's about 24 pieces that you can grab that give you a bit of extra story. As you figure out the other 19 conspirators, their mugshots are shown in the menu. There's also a recap option that reads just like a comic book. It's there in case you forget what's going on. One thing I should mention, there is no autosave. I'll be honest and say I am spoiled by autosave. So I played about 5 stages, decided to take a break, and forgot to manually save. When I came back, I was about an hour behind. Well, damn. Moral of the story? Make sure you save your game. Don't be a dumbass like myself. A couple more things to mention before I end this review. For one, the ending of the game is a hell of a cliffhanger. Just as the story starts gaining speed and you think it's over, you get hit with one of the best cliffhangers in a game I've ever seen. I usually get pissed when these occur, because they're almost never done properly, but holy crap. After this one, I really want to play a sequel to see exactly what happens. The story is so engaging that you just want to know what occurs next in the plot. Alas, there is technically a sequel called 13 Lost Identity, but it's in a completely different style. It's a point-and-click style game. Maybe it's done well, I don't know, but I typically suck at those games, so I don't know if I'll ever give it a chance. If you've played it and recommended it, please let me know. And if you really want to see the ending of the game, stick around after the credits and I'll put it there. That way, if you don't want to see it, you can just stop the video after I'm done. Happy? Good. Once you play through the game and see the credits, which seem to thank Ozzy and the soda machine, you might wonder what's left. Well, you can always play the multiplayer piece. If you don't have any friends to play with, you can pit your skills up against bots. I really wish more games did this. You choose the map and how many bots you want, and then you start shooting them. Simple enough. I still enjoy this feature to this day. And that's all I got for 13. It's a fun game that contains a few flaws. The art style is fantastic, the guns varied, and the story engaging, but those freaking stealth segments, they should have given you a bit more leeway. If you play and want more of 13, you can of course read the comics. There's also a movie and a series on Netflix. I haven't checked them out yet, but they are in my queue. If you want something a bit different to play, definitely give 13 a shot. But don't play it just for the combat, but instead the art style and story. If anything, the bot play is fun. Final score? 8 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.
This is the mongoose. I repeat, this is the mongoose. Number 1, do you copy?
I copy loud and clear.
Can you see him? Who's number 1? Tell me, quick!
Are the fireworks not to your liking, Mr. Fly?